Okay, so today we're going to dive into something that's pretty fundamental, I think, for a really balanced life.
Yeah.
And a thriving life.
Yeah.
And that is routines, having a healthy routine.
Right.
It's kind of like, the blueprint for how to live your life more intentionally, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so over the next, I don't know, half hour or so, 45 minutes or whatever it ends up being, we're going to really sort of extract the key insights about why routines are not only helpful, but actually crucial for living a good life. And what the science of habit formation reveals about like how to make them stick, how to actually create a routine that you can follow.
Right.
And then how to design, a daily structure that works for you, right?
Right.
Because it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly.
And then, of course, we're going to talk about common missteps, the things that trip people up and make them fall off the wagon, as it were. And then we're going to give you some practical tools, right? Like some actual things that you can use to get started with this. And
for sure.
Yeah, and ultimately, I guess, how to build a routine that actually lasts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point. We don't want this to be something that you just like try for a week and you're like, this sucks and I quit.
Yeah, for sure.
So we know you're here to learn some good stuff, and that's what we're going to give you.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, when we hear that word routine, sometimes I feel like it gets a little bit of a bad rap.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's like, it sounds so boring and monotonous.
That sounds rigid.
Rigid, yeah.
Right.
Like there's no spontaneity in my life. I'm just a robot,
Well, I think it's interesting because, you and I both have some material that we're looking at. And one of the things that keeps coming up is how a well-designed routine can actually give you more freedom.
Yeah.
It sounds counterintuitive, right? Because you think, routine, that's going to, put me in a box. But the idea is if you can automate the essential things,
right,
the things that have to happen every day, the things that, keep your life moving forward, you free up so much mental bandwidth to do the things you actually want to do.
Oh, for sure.
And the things that require creativity and all that,
Yeah, totally. I think, I've noticed in my own life when I do have like a pretty solid routine going, I do feel like I have more time and more energy for the things that I really want to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to, just kind of being reactive all the time and being like, I got to do the dishes and I got to do laundry and, just feeling like I'm always behind the 8 ball.
I think what it comes down to is, I read somewhere that our brains are actually hardwired for, patterns and predictability.
Right.
So when you're creating these consistent patterns and routines in your life, you're essentially giving your brain what it wants.
Yeah.
You're giving it these shortcuts. So you're not having to make all these tiny little decisions all day long.
Oh, for sure.
And that's the decision fatigue that we hear so much about. And, that can really wear you down. So you're reducing that. And then all of a sudden you have more energy. You have more time for things.
And I would imagine it also leads to, we've all had that feeling of like decision fatigue where you get to like the end of the day and you're just like, I can't even decide what I want to eat for dinner.
Yeah.
Like it's too much to think about.
Totally.
So yeah, I would imagine having those routines in place really frees up that mental bandwidth so you can actually like enjoy making a decision about what to eat for dinner.
Yeah, and enjoy the meal, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of just being completely wiped out by the time you even get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you were talking about the brain being hardwired for patterns and that sort of thing. And I was thinking about, reading these sources about, really successful people, like really high achievers in all different areas, business or sports or the arts.
Yeah.
They often have these really structured routines.
Right.
And it's not always like, they wake up at 4 a.m. and they meditate for 3 hours. And, it's not always like that.
It's not always crazy.
But it's the consistency,
Yeah.
It's like the discipline to actually do the things that will move you towards your goals.
Right.
Consistently over time.
And it makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're trying to make these dramatic changes.
Yeah.
It's just small things that you do every day. And the next thing you know, you're, way ahead of where you would have been.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that we really want to emphasize in this deep dive is that, it's not about like huge, massive sweeping changes.
Right.
It's really about those little things, those little habits.
Right, the little things add up.
Exactly, yeah.
Over time.
It's that compound effect,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
So, one of the things that comes up a lot in the stuff that we've been reading is this idea of a morning routine.
Yeah.
And how that really can set the tone for your whole day,
Absolutely.
It's like that first hour really can kind of dictate how the rest of your day is going to go.
And it makes sense, right? I mean, you're setting your intentions for the day.
Yeah.
You're getting yourself in the right mindset.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways to go about this, but one of the things I thought was really interesting that came up is this idea of like a power hour framework.
Yeah.
Where you take that first hour in the morning and you sort of segment it out into these 3 key areas.
Yeah.
Mind, body, and planning.
I like that.
And each of them gets like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
So walk me through that.
Okay, so first you got your mind.
All right.
And we're talking about things like meditation or prayer, if that's something you do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some deep breathing exercises. Mm-hmm. Maybe some gratitude journaling. Even just like sitting down and writing down 3 things you're grateful for.
Wait, I like that.
Things like that to really get your mind in a good space.
Right.
And what's interesting about that is that when you do those mindfulness practices, even just for a few minutes, it actually starts to downregulate your nervous system.
Interesting.
Right? So you're lowering your baseline stress levels.
Okay.
So you're already starting the day in a more relaxed state.
So it's not just about feeling good in that moment, but it's actually having a physiological impact.
Right, exactly. So you're setting yourself up for, a better day overall because you're less likely to get triggered by whatever stresses come your way.
And you're just like starting off with that kind of calm, centered feeling, which I think a lot of us could probably benefit from.
Sure. Yeah.
So then there's the body piece. Right.
Okay, yeah. So for the body, we're talking about things like getting some movement in.
Right.
So maybe some light stretching, maybe a little yoga.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the kind of person who likes to go for a run in the morning or a brisk walk or even hit the gym, if that's your thing. And really important, I think, is to hydrate.
Yeah.
Right away. Start with a big glass of water.
Water's so key.
Really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so easy to forget about.
Yeah, I know. I do all the time.
And, when you think about it, you've just gone 7 or 8 hours without any water.
Right.
So your body needs it.
And when we talk about, like a light workout or some gentle stretching or whatever, I think it's important to remember that this isn't about cutting yourself in the gym first thing in the morning.
Oh, no.
It's really about just like getting your body moving.
Right. Waking up your muscles.
Exactly.
Getting your blood flowing, getting your energy up.
Right.
It's like a gentle wake up call to your body,
Yeah. And I think that's important because I know a lot of people hear, oh, I should work out in the morning. And they immediately think like, oh, I got to go do like a CrossFit workout or something.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that intense.
Right.
Right. It can be something as simple as 5 minutes of stretching.
Yeah.
Or even just doing some jumping jacks in your living room.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever gets you moving, and gets your blood flowing.
Right. And I think the key there too is finding something that you actually enjoy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you hate doing burpees, you're probably not going to do them.
No, you're not going to stick with it.
Every morning,
Right, exactly. So find something that you like and that you can stick with, long term.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah. And then the last piece of the power hour.
Okay, so the last piece is planning.
Okay.
And this is where you take a few minutes to just kind of review your goals.
Okay.
What are you working towards?
Right.
Maybe make a to-do list for the day and prioritize the top 3 things that you really want to get done.
Yeah, the most important things.
Yeah, the things that are going to move you closer to your goals.
Right.
And I think this is such a key part because it's so easy to just jump into your day and just react to whatever comes at you.
Yeah.
And you end up being busy all day, but you don't actually get anything accomplished.
Probably.
Right.
Okay.
So by taking a few minutes to plan, you're really taking control of your day.
And you're deciding how you want to spend your time.
Exactly.
As opposed to just letting, the day decide for you.
Right.
Which never goes well for me.
And I think a lot of people get caught up in the idea that you have to wake up, super early.
Yeah.
To have a good morning routine.
Right, like 4:00 a.m. or something crazy.
Yeah, and that's just not true. It's really about the consistency
right.
and the quality of the time that you spend, even if it's just like a focused 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That can make a huge difference in your day.
Yeah, and I think that's encouraging to hear because
Yeah.
I think, I certainly feel like, oh, I got to get up super early and get all this stuff done.
Yeah.
But really it's more about being intentional
Yes.
with whatever time you have, right?
Right.
Even if it's just 20 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes.
It's about quality over quantity.
Exactly.
For sure.
So we've tackled the morning, we've got our power hour.
Yeah.
We're feeling good, we're hydrated.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
We're ready to take on the world.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's that midday slump, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a real thing.
Yeah, we all hit that wall.
Totally.
And sometimes it can be really hard to kind of get over that hump.
Yeah.
And stay focused and energized for the rest of the day.
Totally. And that's where I think having a midday routine can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Just like we have a morning routine to set the tone for the day, we can have a midday routine to help us kind of reset and recharge and get ready for the second half.
The second half, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So one thing that's really important, I think, is to break up those long periods of sitting.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Most of us have jobs where we're sitting at a desk for hours at a time.
Oh, no, I do.
And it's not good for our bodies.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's not good for our minds. So
yeah,
it's really important to try to move every 60 to 90 minutes, even if it's just for a couple of minutes.
Right, you don't have to go run a marathon in the middle of the day.
No.
Just get up, walk around a little bit, maybe do some stretches at your desk.
Yeah, exactly. Just get your blood flowing.
Right.
And, get some oxygen to your brain.
And I think that, we talk about like productivity and focus and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's easy to think that like, oh, I need to just be like head down, working.
Yeah.
But actually like taking those breaks
Totally
can make you more productive in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a mini reset for your body and your mind.
Right.
And you come back feeling more refreshed and more focused.
Exactly.
And then, of course, lunch is a big part of the midday routine.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. And it's not just about like, scarfing down a sandwich at your desk.
Right.
It's about taking a break.
Yeah.
Getting away from your work.
Yeah.
And eating a healthy, balanced meal.
And again, I think it comes back to that, the quality of the food that you're putting into your body.
Absolutely.
It's really easy to just like grab whatever's convenient.
Right.
But that often is not the most nutritious option.
Right. It's going to leave you feeling sluggish and tired.
Yeah.
And not able to focus in the afternoon.
So focus on those whole foods. Get some protein, get some healthy fats.
Some complex carbs. And hydration. Don't forget the hydration.
More water, yes.
So important. It's easy to get dehydrated, especially when you're busy and you're working.
Yeah.
So make sure you're sipping on water throughout the day.
Right. And, and I know we've talked about this before, but like sometimes just setting a timer on your phone.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
To remind yourself to drink water can be really helpful.
Totally.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in whatever you're doing and forget to drink.
Yeah, it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
So a timer can be a really helpful tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
To remind yourself to stay hydrated.
So other than, eating a good lunch and getting up and moving around, are there any other kind of midday routines that you think are helpful?
Yeah, one thing that's really helpful, I think, is to take like a mini digital detox.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Even if it's just for 10 minutes, just step away from your computer.
Yeah.
Put your phone down and just disconnect for a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that's especially important now that so many of us are
right, working from home.
And it's like the computer's right there, the phone's right there. It's really hard to escape.
Yeah, and it can be really mentally draining to be constantly connected.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So just taking a few minutes to disconnect can really help to refresh your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So give yourself permission to like walk away.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever you can manage.
Yeah, even 5 minutes, whatever you can do.
Right. Yeah. Anything's better than nothing.
Totally.
And then another thing that you mentioned that I thought was interesting was a midday reset, like a check-in.
Right. Yeah. So this is just taking like a minute or two to just kind of reflect on how your morning went. Oh, did you accomplish what you set out to do?
Right.
Are you feeling good? Are you on track? And if not, what adjustments can you make?
Yeah, like a little course correction.
Exactly. Yeah.
You need to.
And it can be as simple as like, writing down a couple of things in a journal or just like, taking a few deep breaths and just kind of checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
And then another thing that can be really helpful in the midday is a power nap.
Oh, I love a good power nap.
They're amazing, right?
The best, yeah.
So if you can swing it, even just like 10 or 20 minutes
Yeah.
can make a huge difference in your energy levels for the afternoon.
Yeah, and even if you can't fall asleep,
Right.
just like closing your eyes
Yes.
and resting for a few minutes can be really restorative.
Totally. Or you could even do like a little mindfulness meditation instead of napping.
Hmm.
Just something to kind of calm your mind and give yourself a break
Yeah, absolutely.
from the busyness of the day.
So, one thing I've noticed is we've been talking about these different routines, whether it's morning or midday or evening, is that it's not about like being super rigid
No.
and having this like strict schedule that you have to follow to the letter.
Right. It's more about intentionality
Exactly.
in rigidity.
Yeah.
It's about having a plan, but also being flexible and adaptable.
Yeah.
Because life happens, right?
Right.
Things come up, you have to adjust.
Yeah, so don't beat yourself up if you,
Right.
miss a day or whatever.
Exactly. Just get back on track as soon as you can.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to experiment and find what works best for you.
Yeah.
There's no one right way to do this.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Yeah, it's all about finding what works for you and your lifestyle.
Right.
And your preferences.
Okay, so we've talked about the morning, we've talked about midday.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the evening, right? The end of the day.
Winding down.
Winding down.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really crucial part of a healthy routine
Oh, for sure.
that often gets overlooked,
People focus so much on the morning routine,
Right.
but the evening routine is just as important.
Yeah, and it's not just about like, going to bed at a certain time. It's
Yeah.
about like really preparing yourself for restful sleep.
Yeah.
And creating that kind of like separation between the day and the night,
Yeah.
So
Totally.
what are some of the things that you think are important to include in an evening routine?
Well, one of the things I think is really important is to have what I call an unwind ritual,
Okay.
where you consciously transition from work mode
Yeah.
to relax mode.
Right.
So this might involve things like shutting down your work at a certain time.
But easier said than done, I know.
Right. It can be tough, especially if you work from home.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's important to set those boundaries
Yeah.
and then maybe do some light stretching
Mhm.
or listen to some calming music.
Yeah.
Maybe read a physical book.
Oh, yeah, as opposed to reading on a screen.
Right, yeah. The blue light from screens can interfere with your sleep.
Right.
So it's better to read a physical book if you're trying to wind down.
Yeah, and I think that's a good reminder for me.
Yeah.
Because I tend to do a lot of my reading on my phone or on my Kindle,
Yeah.
and I notice that it's harder to fall asleep when I do that,
Yeah, it's the blue light. It messes with your melatonin production.
Yeah.
So a physical book is a better option.
So, okay, so we've shut down work.
Yeah.
We've done some stretching. We've maybe read a book. What else is part of this evening routine?
Well, a really important part, I think, is a digital detox.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that with the midday routine, too.
Right, yeah. So this is about avoiding screens for at least 30 to 60 minutes before bed.
Okay.
And ideally, no scrolling in bed.
Oh, yeah, I'm so guilty of that.
I know, it's so tempting.
It is.
But it's really not good for your sleep.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just so hard to resist sometimes.
Yeah, it's like it's become such a habit to just like scroll through social media before bed.
Yeah.
But it's really not doing us any favors.
Okay, so no screens before bed.
Okay, and then the last piece I think is sleep hygiene.
Okay.
So this is about making sure your bedroom is conducive to sleep.
Okay.
So we're talking about keeping it cool and dark and quiet
Right.
and having a consistent bedtime and wake up time.
Right, even on the weekends.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then also limiting caffeine and alcohol in the evening
Oh, yeah, good point.
because those can interfere with your sleep.
Right.
And, sleep is so important.
Oh, my gosh, it's like the foundation of everything.
It's like the foundation of a healthy life.
Yes.
It affects everything.
If everything.
Your mood, your energy levels, your cognitive function, your physical health, everything,
It's so crucial, and yet so many of us don't get enough of it.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we really need to prioritize it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is that, like, creating a healthy routine is really about taking care of yourself, It's not about being perfect.
No.
It's not about being like, some kind of superhuman.
Right.
It's about making choices
Yeah.
that support your well-being
Exactly.
and help you feel your best.
So we've talked about all these different parts of a routine.
Yeah.
The morning, the midday, the evening. Now, how do we actually make these things stick?
Right. That's the big question.
Because it's one thing to, have a plan.
Yeah.
But it's another thing to actually follow through with it.
Yeah. Consistency is key.
Yes, consistency is key. So, our sources talk about 5 key strategies for building habits that stick.
Okay, I like this.
And the first one is to start small.
Okay.
So, don't try to change everything at once.
Yeah, we talked about that as a mistake, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming and it sets you up for failure.
Yeah.
So just pick one habit
Okay.
that you want to work on
Yeah.
and focus on that until it becomes automatic.
Okay, so just one thing at a time.
Exactly. And even break that one habit down into smaller steps.
Right.
So if you want to start meditating,
Yeah.
don't start with 30 minutes a day.
Right.
Start with 2 minutes.
Okay.
Or even 1 minute, just something that's super manageable.
Right.
And then gradually increase the time as you get more comfortable.
So it's like those little wins, those little victories build on each other.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it creates momentum.
Right.
Which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So start small. That's the first strategy.
Okay.
The second strategy is habit stacking.
Okay, tell me about that.
Okay, so habit stacking is basically taking a new habit that you want to form and linking it to an existing habit that you already do regularly. So, for example, if you want to start journaling, you could stack it with brushing your teeth.
Okay.
So every time you brush your teeth at night, you also take out your journal and write for 5 minutes.
So you're using that existing habit as a trigger for the new habit.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And it works because your brain already has that neural pathway established for brushing your teeth. So it's easier to add on a new habit to that existing pathway.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Than to try to create a whole new pathway from scratch.
Okay, so habit stacking, start small. What's number 3?
Number 3 is environment design.
Okay.
So this is about making your environment work for you.
Yeah, I think I've heard of this.
Rather than against you. So for example, if you want to eat healthier, make sure you have healthy snacks readily available.
Okay.
And get rid of the junk food in your house.
So it's like, if you open the pantry and there's a bag of chips staring you in the face, you're more likely to eat it.
Yeah, you're going to grab it, right.
Than if you have to go out of your way to get it.
Right, exactly. So make it easy to do the things you want to do.
Right.
And hard to do the things you don't want to do. Host speaker.